Hello, hello, all you trauma rock stars out there. I've got a great show for you. I cannot wait for you to meet this man and his story. And I'm not going to do much of an intro because he's got a lot to say and I want him to explain it to you. But Steve, welcome to Trauma Rockstar. Steve's a pastor and he's been through quite a bit and he does so much with now. When we first spoke, I'm just going to say goosebump warning. You're going to get goosebumps talking to him and hearing his story because it's fascinating. Steve, welcome to Trauma Rockstars.
Thank you for having me, Tracy. It's so good to see you again.
You
I'm
as
honored
well.
honored to be a rock star with you today.
Yeah, you're officially part of the Trauma Rockstar family now. There's no turning back.
Right.
You want to go back to, because I know too, when we were talking, we talked a lot about forgiveness and forgiving ourselves and things like that. Like I had to learn that what in my healing journey about forgiving myself. But do you want to go back to, your childhood and how that kind of molded you into where you're at now and how you're helping others with that?
Yeah, I started off as a child that was abandoned by his real mother at the age of 4. Mother and father got a divorce, she took off, and I never saw her at all until I was at least 18, 19.
Right.
My father was an alcoholic off and on, and growing up in my younger years, I was told that I would never amount to anything, that I wasn't good enough, basically. He loved me how he knew how to love me. I understand that now. His cup was empty. I'm trying to get something out of a dry cup. And he told me words that a child should never hear.
Hmm.
He said that I should be more like my brother. And once I heard that, I knew it was over for me, that I just didn't have the hope that I would amount to anything myself. 6 years old, I'm sexually molested in a construction trailer by a neighbor. And that
Yeah.
went on for a season. I didn't tell a soul. He said that if our parents found out that we would be in trouble.
Yeah.
And knowing my father, I didn't like being in trouble. So that wasn't going to come out of my mouth. And I held it in for 40 something years. I didn't tell
Mm.
a soul, not a soul, until I was in counseling. And that came out and I had to heal from that. Moving forward from that, basically tried to just escape by being a child, by having fun, by just trying to do everything that children try to do, be accepted with friends and different people in different situations. I ended up meeting a girl at the age of 18, and we started to get serious, and she ended up being my future wife. And during that time, she wasn't an addict, and her father was an alcoholic. My father was an alcoholic. And not knowing this, obviously, when you're that young, that there's just so many red flags and we shouldn't even be in a relationship. But so God has a plan, right? So we have this plan that we end up getting married. And during our marriage, 3 years into it, she starts on pain medication. Now, I didn't know about that for another 2 years, is when I found out. Before all this happened, I was called into ministry. I went to a church, went forward. It was like the pastor, a lot of us have this experience. The pastor was talking directly to me, and
Yeah.
nobody else was in the room,
Right.
and a sword just went through me, and I went forward and I said, yes, I'm going to do this, and started to live out Christianity as the way I thought and I was taught. And if you remember back in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s, there was a movement called Promise Keepers. It was a men's ministry, and it was held in huge stadiums, and it was for men to be better leaders, business leaders, better husbands, better fathers, better disciples for
Hmm.
Christ. And it was an amazing movement. And I would start traveling around to those, like following them around like the Grateful Dead. I'd come home and after volunteering, I'm like, I'm going to preach to men like this. I know that I am going to do this. This is what God's calling me to do. Well, I was running a business at the same time, and it took off. And when you start making money when you really don't have it, it can really knock you off your game. Now, I was
Hmm.
still professing that I was a Christian and I loved the Lord, but I was enjoying material things and
Hmm.
going down that path. We moved to Columbus, Ohio in the early 2000s. This was after I finally approached my wife and I said, hey, I found back in the 90s as well, you could doctor shop.
Yeah.
Nothing was connected like it is today. And you can
Right.
go to 6 or 7 doctors and she would get pain medication from all these
Six
doctors.
different scripts. Yeah.
Yeah. And I found the bag in a grocery bag. I don't know why she kept it all, but they staple the prescription
Hmm.
to all the descriptions of the medication. Found that, confronted her. And I mean, she was going through 200, 300 pills in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, And once we confronted her and went through all the problems with that, with her mother and the denial, and I ended up leaving for a couple of weeks and she got serious and she went to an outpatient. Well,
Mhm.
she went to an outpatient thing, got the healing. We had a business opportunity in Ohio. We moved to Ohio, because we run from our problems, right? And we figure
And
that,
they follow you.
well, you don't know that, but you think you're
Yep.
running from you think you're fixing everything because it's going to be hard for her to round up all these doctors in Ohio.
Yeah.
And she was clean for a season, and our neighbors invited us to church, and we decided to go because we haven't been for a while. New start, new beginning. We ended
Mhm.
up going to church, and again, the pastor, it was just me and the pastor again. And I ended up getting involved in sound. I was a drummer. I worked in the sound booth. I would hand him his mic every Sunday. He would come up to me and say, "Young man, what is your name again? I'm so sorry." I'm like, "It's Steve." It's like the most easiest name you can ever remember. And by the third time, he's like, "I'm so sorry. I got to take you to lunch." And that's when we went to lunch. I told him what was on my heart, and he just took me under his wing, and I became a pastor. I did a stint from Liberty Grace University and became the children's pastor of that church. I was a pastor of 110 kids, Celebrate Recovery director, did Awana, commander of Awana, just did a bunch of different stuff. Ended up getting a radio ministry and then moved into planting my own church and had my own church. And all of this came crashing down because my wife started taking medicine again and she
Mhm.
wasn't healed and wasn't fixed. And I kept this a secret the entire time I was a pastor. I didn't
Mhm.
tell anybody.
You
And you
probably
come,
didn't know how.
well, you didn't know there was the shame.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had codependency at that point. So there's
Right.
the shame, there's the fear, there's the guilt, there's it's my fault that she's doing this. A lot of it was she's taken this medicine to escape me, so I'm the problem. All this came crashing to a halt because of all that shame, all that guilt, all the stuff that I thought was my fault she was doing all this medicine. And I couldn't bear it anymore because I would see her passing out as I'm preaching. She'd sit on the front row. Pastor's wife always sits on the front row and she would nod off and just keep doing the nods from the medicine. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And I said, "God, I'm working for you. I don't know why you're not fixing her. I don't know what's going on. And I see you help other people. I love helping other people." And it just all unraveled. And I said, "God, I'm done with you. I'm walking away." I walked away from the church. I handed it over to another church and said, "You know what? I'm going to do it on my own. You're not going to help me. I'll fix this myself." And then I went through 2 years of hell by myself
Yeah.
trying to fix that. So that brings you up pretty much up to speed on how
Yeah.
crappy things were.
When we were I think there's gonna probably so many people out there that can relate to you, Steve. At what point did you realize you were an enabler? You were part of the problem? Like, how did that come to you? Like, how did you get that information?
I had one good friend that was a good Christian friend that stood beside me through this whole thing. Most people run because they just don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
They throw the, "Oh, well, God's with you and we'll be praying for you." But
Mhm.
it's just like, "Hey, I really don't know how to handle your situation. So good luck."
Yeah.
But I had one friend that stood with me and he said, "You need to go see this Christian counselor."
Okay.
And I said, "No, I'm a man. I don't need counseling. I'm strong." And he's like, "No, I just go for me." I said, "Okay, you're a good friend. I'll go." And then while I'm going, "Yeah, this is actually a good idea because I'm going to get this guy on my side to show my wife how bad she is. And we're going to team up. And now I've got a professional and it's going to be all over. I'm going to win." So I went.
Yeah.
So I went, sat there proudly, waiting to tell my story. And I started to tell my story. This is no joke. 15 minutes into this meeting with him, he said, "You're codependent. You have codependency. You're just as much of a problem as she is. You're just not using drugs, you're using your emotions, and you're destroying your kids." Wow. I wanted to punch him in the face.
I
I
was gonna say,
it
how was that received?
wasn't received very well, but I
Yeah.
stayed and I fought with him a little bit. He assured me that once this sits with you, the spirit will speak and it'll settle down and okay, whatever. And I left and I was mad. I remember yelling in the car. I'm like, "This is, you know, crazy." And I didn't actually use that word, but you probably can imagine
Yeah.
where I went. But I went home, I got on the computer and I looked up codependency. And codependency was thrown around in recovery terms. It's not a big
Mhm.
word that's really used out there. So, especially in the 2000s, early 2000s, it was just not something that you really thought of. And it made you feel more of a problem. Like now there's something wrong. Now I've got a character flaw. But I read all this and I'm like, "Oh my word." I'm like, every relationship from the beginning of time was a codependent relationship. I was enjoying being the president of a company because I felt validated.
Mhm.
I loved being a pastor because I felt needed, wanted, and validated. Everything I did, I saw through the eyes of codependency, and it just floored me. And
Mhm.
then that's when it clicked. I have a problem. I've got to save myself. And that's where we started down that road.
And I think it says a lot that, of course, there was resilience at first. You were mad. I'm sure you had words, like you said, I'm sure you had even thicker walls up at that point, but yet you were strong enough to go, just totally fully go into it and realize, okay, I've got to help myself. This starts your journey where you realized you were a huge people pleaser, right?
Yep.
And you were part of the problem. So how long did it take you going through this, realizing all this, to really look at yourself? Because I know like I said, we talked about forgiveness. I had a lot of forgiving for myself I had to do. How were you able to do that so easily? Because I think it's so hard for people to look within. You've got to go really deep within, and it takes you to very dark places.
It does. And I was in counseling for 7 years,
Mhm.
getting healing.
Mhm.
And the forgiveness part, it comes in pieces, it comes in waves.
Mhm.
At first, I was able to forgive my mother.
Mhm.
She abandoned me 3 times, not just once.
Right.
So when she left, the first time I was a young child. When I met her, we had our first son. I was married. We had our first son. We flew down and met her. I said, "Hey, it doesn't matter. Whatever happened between you and my dad, it doesn't matter. I just want a relationship with you. I've got a kid. You're a grandmother. This is gonna be great." That lasted for about 3 weeks, and she never called. I became a pastor. Called her again. Said, "Hey, you know, I'm a pastor now." Which in code is now I feel like I'm good enough that you can like me now because I work for God. That's what that code
Yeah.
was. That lasted for a few days, and she never
Mhm.
called back and never would call back, and so I would learn to forgive that. I learned, we went to that deep, dark pocket to forgive being sexually molested. We were able to go through forgiving my father, and I understand all that now and worked through all that now, but it wasn't until just last year. It wasn't until last year that I was able to forgive myself.
Mhm.
And I was starting on this ministry. God was pulling me back in, and I'm like, "Where are we going? Why aren't we moving? What's going on?" And he says,
Mhm.
"Well, you need to forgive." And I said, "I've forgiven everybody. I don't know what you're talking. I've forgiven everybody. Show me where I need to forgive." And he says, "You need to forgive yourself." I busted out crying
Yeah.
because I never forgave myself for not being able to fix my wife, my ex-wife, who eventually passed away from an
Mhm.
overdose. And I never forgave myself for being a horrible father to my two older boys that are now a complete mess because of what I've done.
Mhm. Yeah, you said that.
Yeah.
How and I think with me, the forgiveness was more. I didn't have the tools to understand what was going on. So I could have been doing research for years and maybe found healing sooner, but I didn't. And I think I'm not a bad person. But I think those are the things that I had to forgive myself for because it took me so long and, 40, same as you, 40 plus years, and it took me so long because I didn't, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And I remember I just kept saying I've wasted so much time. Not, just time that I could have been doing good and being my authentic self. Where are you at now in your journey? Because I know you're back now as a pastor and you're helping people, and it is a daily struggle because you're never fully healed. So where are you at now? Because I think it's very powerful. Like you and I both kind of had all this happen a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's still raw.
It is raw, but I'm transformed.
Mhm.
I love to tell people I am healed. However, we have to understand arrows that get thrown at us every day.
Mhm.
And you can't live in those circumstances. You can't live in that getting on this podcast. Oh, you're going to suck. Nobody's going to listen to it. You're going to embarrass yourself. This ministry's not going to work. And it's like, Father, I know that's not who I am. I know that's not the voice of you. I
Right.
know that this is what we're doing now, and we're going to go out and you're going to prepare the hearts of the people that need to hear this message, and we'll move forward from there. It's not staying stuck in that and being wrecked when I hang up here and I'm 3 days wrecked because I don't think I'm good enough. No,
Mhm.
I can now fight off those triggers and I can now fight that off when those feelings come up. It's like
Mhm.
my 2 older boys, they're hurting, and it breaks my heart that
Yeah.
I can go back into codependency so quick
Mhm.
trying to fix them. So it's identifying, people call them boundaries, I call them triggers. It's identifying what triggers are gonna take you down
Mhm.
and stopping those triggers before they do.
Have you talked to your sons and been able to share with them your own journey with all this, or are they just too they can't even hear that right now?
No, my oldest son, who's 30 years old, his name's Caleb. He's just we have a I mean, we talk. Is it and he comes over and has dinner with his girlfriend and it's there's no tension. It just hurts me because I'd love to see him free because he's angry at the world. He can get mad just like that. And I know he's not angry at me. I just know he doesn't know how to process those
Mhm.
emotions. But does he text me? No. Does he call me and say, "Hey dad, how you doing?" No. He'll just come over, but I'll just text him, "Hey, we're having dinner if you want to come over," and he'll come over, and I'll take
Yeah.
what I can get.
Right.
My other son that was involved in this, now Caleb was like the best friend to my ex-wife. Them
Mhm.
2, she talked bad about me to him. She put all this fear into him.
Yeah.
I'm a liar. She's not taking medicine. I'm just controlling. And so that obviously beat him up a little bit. And then when he saw the truth, that wrecked him even more. My other son, who was basically attached to me, his name's Zach, I would take things out on him because I didn't know how to process all my emotions during the time. We were together and he went off and he worked with me in different jobs and I'd bring him to work under me in different jobs. And then he met this girl. And you want to talk about codependency love addict.
Yeah.
He dove straight into that, and then you try to say, "Hey, buddy, you need to watch this," and then we would fight and fight and fight, and
Yeah.
wow. And then I said, "I'm done. I can't do this," because he was staying with me. I said, "You can go back to Ohio with your friends," because we live in Texas now, and, I said, "I'm just not gonna put up with this anymore," and he left and went to Ohio. Well,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm getting better," and then met another girl. I said, "Son," he was gonna move to North Carolina with her. I said, "This is not for you, this is for me, so I can feel better, but this is the biggest decision or worst decision you're ever gonna make in your entire life, and this is gonna end badly." And of course, he had to try to prove me wrong. So now he couldn't call me to talk to me about his problems. He had to show himself strong to me and, because he had to please me, basically, with that
Yeah.
codependency. And he ended up in jail through a domestic and got a DWI.
Mhm.
And luckily the charges were dropped because it was more on her than it was him,
Right.
but he had nowhere to go and he lost everything. And he just now moved right in with us right before Christmas.
Okay.
And I said, "You're going to pay rent, you're going to go to counseling, and we're going to start life over. And if you don't go to counseling and you don't try to get yourself better, then you're going to be gone again." So
Yeah.
that's how I deal with them. But it hurts every single day. You
Mhm.
try not to go, I want to just bash them over the head and fix them, but what good
Yeah.
is that going to do?
We are so much more educated now about that generational trauma that we pass on to our loved ones, and none of it's intentional. Everybody wants to be the best parent and, the best person, but it's just not reality. What advice do you have to parents that are listening that haven't healed their own traumas and even if they have very young kids, they still are passing this down to their little ones. What kind of advice would you have for them?
Well, number one, you're destroying your kids.
Mhm.
Quite honestly, you're destroying your kids. You have to find healing. You have to get strong and find healing. And I come from, I was an addict with codependency. I was never an addict with an unhealthy habit,
Mhm.
drinking, drugs, anything like that. So if you're partnered with somebody like that, we know that most people that stay with an addict are codependent, have codependency. It's just been proven fact. And then you have to know that 1 out of 4 kids lives in a situation like that with a codependent parent and an addict. And you have to know that. So getting that information in your hands and saying, "I've got to stop, I got to break this cycle." Well, you be the one to break the cycle.
Mhm.
So what can you do, you know, to help yourself? You don't have to live in this forever. There's freedom and there's transformation on the other side of it, but you got to take a step through the door. And it's hard. I understand it's completely hard because we're fixers, we're enablers. I've got this, I'm going to fix it. And for 13 years, I just thought of different ways to try to fix it.
Mhm.
It didn't work because your codependency, it wasn't a husband caring for a wife to help her get better. That's what it starts
Mhm.
out as. 13 years later, it's the addicts and the codependents going to fight. And who's going to win today? That's the basics of the marriage at that point. And if you're at that point, it's just a complete hell
Mm.
because you wake up going, I'm going to win today. My codependency is going to win. I'm going to find medicine and I'm going to dump it out in front of her. I'm going to cut up cards. I'm going to take her off the bank account. I'm going to do all these things so she can't go get medicine. Well, the addict's going, well, screw you because I got different things in my pocket. And
Right.
so it's just,
They find a way.
yeah, so it's just a battle every single day. Who won? You go to bed. Did
Yeah.
I win today or did I lose? And then you wake up the
Right.
next day and that's what you do. So if
Mhm.
you want to be stuck in that cycle, your kids are going to suck it up
Mhm.
and then they're going to be in relationships just like it. So get help. That's what the ministry's here for now. That's what I do. That's my passion.
Well, I was gonna segue into that. I have one more quick question though, because
Of
I know
course, yeah.
a lot of parents, maybe even single parents that are listening, even guardians of kids are listening to this. Do you feel like it's something that you can heal as a family together, like in family therapy or with a pastor, like as a neutral party? Or is this something that you really need to kind of heal yourself first? Like,
I believe you need to heal
yeah.
yourself first.
Okay.
You can sit on the boat while it's sinking and go, "Hey, you know what? He's going to go fix the boat. He's going to fix the hole in the boat. I know he's going to fix a hole in the boat. Why isn't he fixing a hole in the boat? What? I thought he was going to go fix. I know he's going to fix the hole in the boat. I'm going to tell him to fix the hole in the boat." You
Mm.
just keep doing that. Next thing you know, the ship sinks. It's the same thing with addiction. They're not going to get better. You're not going to make them get better. You can do whatever you want. They're not going to get better
Mhm.
until they're ready to get better. And you can
Mhm.
sit in all the family therapy you want. They're just going to deny different things or they're going to act like everything's fine and then you're going to leave and it's going to go right back to the same stuff.
Well, yeah, for
Mm.
addiction. But I'm just talking about families in general who probably don't even realize, like, have never even heard the term generational trauma that you're passing down to your kids and your loved ones. With that, I think with you being pulled back into your ministry, do you think that would have happened if you hadn't have done the work that you've done?
It wouldn't have happened if I didn't go see that counselor. It
Yeah.
never would have. I had to find clarity for myself. And this
Mhm.
is what I tell everybody. I don't promote divorce. I don't promote separating. I just promote you getting healthy. And
Yes.
once you
Yeah.
get clarity, that's when you can decide how to move forward in your relationship. Once I started to gain that clarity, I went straight to my wife and said, you know what? I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. And I haven't
Mhm.
been for a long time. I'm in love with your addiction and I'm breaking up with that today. And
Mhm.
that's what I did. And I broke up with that addiction. I ended up moving out. I ended up trying to repair things while I was getting things better with myself. And it just went downhill. I had to go over and save the kids. I had the sheriff's department called. I had to go over there. I had a young one at that time that was in a diaper, and one of my sons finally called and said, "Hey, mom's passed out on the couch. We can't get her to get up. The baby's in a
Yeah.
poopy diaper, hasn't eaten." And I just went over there and said, "That's it." I took the
Yeah.
kids.
With
So that was a long story. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be winded, but
no,
I'm
it's
trying to let people know that you can stop it today. You have to gain clarity for yourself today,
yeah.
or it's going to continue to go on.
It's yeah, if you're not healed yourself, you cannot be the best version of yourself for anybody else that's in your life. It's impossible.
Right.
Now that you're back with your, Christian ministry and being a pastor and helping people again, you've been called back to this. What are some misconceptions that you hear a lot that, when you're talking to people?
That pastors have it all together, that we're perfect, that we're held upon a pedestal.
Yeah.
I'm a human being with trauma just like you.
Yeah.
I just love the Lord and felt called by him. It doesn't mean that he fixes everything with the snap of a finger.
Mhm.
But if you remember all through that, I prayed, why won't you fix her, fix her, fix her, fix her, fix her? I never said, will you fix me?
Mhm.
Not once did I ever say that until I got into counseling.
Yeah. And
So
I mean, it sounds like he had tough love with you, but it's what you needed.
definitely, definitely. Everybody in the Christian world, God's got a perfect plan for your life. No, mine pretty much sucked. It was hell, and I didn't like it, but now I love it because it's a perfect plan.
Yeah, in the spiritual realm of things, shifting gears a little bit from Christian side to a spiritual side of it, it's everything is a reflection of you,
Right.
right? And and I think look at your strongest relationships and are they healthy? Are they toxic? Are they you can think this is a great relationship, but it's actually a very toxic relationship. Everything's like a reflection of your own work that you've done with yourself. And what are some of the struggles? I know, like, you finally forgave yourself last year. But I'm sure that there's still challenges. Like, what are some of the struggles that you still go through? Because you've done so much work.
Yeah, it's with my kids. I struggle not to step back into codependency with my kids because I want to just remove all that pain. And this is for those that are not Christian, this is how I describe the wrath of God.
Hmm.
It is a love so powerful that you want to go into your child and remove everything, all those lies that they believe about themselves. You want to remove all those passionately with fire and a vengeance.
Hmm.
That is what love is. And I
Hmm.
believe that's what the wrath of God is to me, that he wants us so free. We were made in an image of Jesus,
Hmm.
and he wants us that free. But we want to live in the old self. We want to live in the Adam. We want to live in that past of pain, suffering. I'm not good enough, that started in the garden. See, when people say sin, it's behavior modification. It's
Hmm.
so bad. It's so wrong. It's not even what it means. It's not what it's translated to. People would just read that alone. The first thing Adam and Eve did, they had shame and denial and self
Hmm.
centeredness.
Hmm.
They took the apple. Where are you? I'm hiding. Why? Because I'm ashamed now.
Hmm.
And that's what we were all born into. And then he says, "Well, who said you were naked?" "Well, it's that girl over there. You gave me that girl." And she's like, "No, it's the snake. If you didn't have that snake in here."
Yeah.
So we were all born into shame, self-centeredness, and denial. An infant, you don't teach an infant to say no. Where does an infant all of a sudden grab something and go, "Mine. No, mine." We're born into that.
Right.
So you can live into that or you can walk out of it into a healed life.
I think when you're struggling, a lot of people like myself, I was in such denial. I didn't even realize how much I was suffering, you know? But when you're struggling like that, it's hard to have that realization that I really have to start working on myself. So with that too, it's hard to find if you're Christian or whatever you believe in that you're listening to find like Christ within us when you're suffering so badly and you just feel stuck in life. So how do you guide people when they're at that place when they're just maybe at the very beginning stages of their healing journeys and they're struggling to find that within them, to be a child of God?
Yeah, I mean, even non-spiritual people that I come into contact with. I learned this from a great man that you can just say how many people in the room or how many people on this webinar that we're doing, how many people hear a negative voice that says, "I'm not good enough?"
Mhm.
Everybody raises their hand.
Mhm.
How many people hear the voice that says, "You are beloved, you are an amazing person, and I created you to be the most awesome thing in the world"?
Mhm.
How many hear that voice? Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. Well, right now in my car on XM channel 39 is Hair Nation, and there is an awesome 80s band playing some rock and roll right now.
Yeah.
I can't hear it. Why can't I? Because I'm not tuned into it.
Mhm.
And I train people to tune into hearing God and what he says about them.
Mhm.
And then you can move forward however you want, spiritually, non spiritually. But once you start identifying that, hey, I am worth something, I don't have to put all my value into a human being because I'm only going to be as good as that human being is tomorrow. And if they wake up in a crappy mood, I'm a wreck for 3 or 4 days
Mhm.
as a codependent. So once I can train to just know who I am, it's so freeing. It is so freeing.
Well, let's talk about Walk Right Ministries. That and somebody's listening to this and thinks, "All right, I feel like I'm a mirror of this this guy and his story. It's resonating with me." And you started your ministry for that reason. And it's not just for Christians, right? It's for anybody who needs help.
It's for anybody that needs help. It is faith based and everything comes from the
Yes.
identity of Christ, but
Yes.
you don't have to be a Christian. Like,
Mhm.
I just disclaimer right here, Western American Christianity that we all grew up learning, whew, it needs some tweaking. It just
Yeah.
needs some tweaking.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
What do you that first step is to reach out and get in touch with you, but it's gotta be really scary. So, And I know that when everybody's story is different, everybody's at a different position with where they're at. But what do you find some of the biggest struggles are if they do reach out and can have an initial meeting with them? Is it denial?
Fear.
Everything's fear based.
Fear. They're afraid of leaving the addict, or if it would come to that. They're afraid of finances. They're afraid the addict controls everything. You base your finances around the addict. You base your plans around the addict. You base your kid's schedule around the addict. It's fear, and it's getting them to understand that I understand that fear. And God never designed for you to go through this alone.
Yeah.
That's what community is for. It's not
Hmm.
the Steve show. It's a community that and we just launched this, by the way. It's not the Steve show. It is a place. I put it like this. I invite everybody into the party,
Hmm.
and they're having so much fun with each other that
Hmm.
I can go upstairs and go to bed. I'm not needed. And I facilitate devotionals. I facilitate the worksheets, that the studies. It's everything I walked through for 10 years that is
Yeah.
put into this community, and that people can stand by each other. Because what's going to happen is a new person's going to come in, and somebody that's like myself, or maybe even 3 years down the road, can help walk with this person. And then that person's going to help somebody else that comes into the community and says, "Oh my gosh, I'm at this part in the community and I'm freed from this or that, but I still have these struggles." And everybody starts community and starts talking and starts helping each other while doing all the work. And it's not
Hmm.
just courses of fun, it's hard work. It's peeling back all those layers that hurt. There's going to be crying, there's going to be pain that you don't want to feel, but you got to do it to move forward. And that's what the community is about. It's called Walk Right Community. And I just invite people into a safe space, and you'll get a free call with me just so I can just give you some guidance, calm you down. I have a calming voice,
You
calm you
do.
down, and just trust me. Trust me on
Yeah.
this. Whether you know God or not, just trust me, because that's how we create disciples. That's what discipleship is. It's just loving on other
Mhm.
people and setting them free. And it's not
What makes yours stand out from others that are out there? Because I'm sure that people, we're inundated with there's so much opportunity out there to talk and meet with people, but and I know you specifically designed yours based on your own experience, so you've got firsthand knowledge, which is great. But what else about it would be really enticing to somebody that, whether they're an addict themselves or they have an addict, it might not even be addiction.
right.
They may be an
Less than.
enabler of all kinds of different things.
Right. It is, how can I put this? It is a place where you're not getting clinical study and clinical education workbooks and things that somebody that went through school will tell you. It's coming from somebody that walked through the pits of hell that you're walking in, and
Mm,
how I climbed out of it. That's how it's different. And this is where the church fails. We'll do anything for the addict. And God bless the addict. I love the addict. But
right.
I'm on the other side. We'll do anything for them, but what about the 1 to 7 people that are affected by the addict? So while we're trying to behavior modify the addict, what about the 7 people that have to deal with them, that are hurt, that are lost, that are shameful, that are dying? We don't focus on them. And that's what the community does. It focuses on them
Mhm.
and brings life to them. And how is mine different? It lets you know who you really are. It's not, are you going to, if you die tonight, are you going to heaven? It's not that BS. It's being Jesus without even talking about Jesus. I mean,
Mhm.
I have scripture and I do stuff that are biblical based. Don't get me wrong. But if I can just be Jesus, it's a lot more effective than pounding Jesus down somebody's throat. And once you see love, the truth will set you free.
Yeah, it just all falls into place.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's great though that you've got that community because you need that when you're healing. I mean, you need to have that community of support and to know that you're not going to be judged.
Right, and you could do it at your time, because I know 98% are females
Mhm.
that are with a male addict. I'm like a weird one out, but there are guys out here, but we're gonna be too tough to say that we need help. So I'll have to work on them. But it is, you've got children, you've got 2 jobs. You can't go to a meeting all the time. You can't wait till
Yeah.
Thursday. You need to talk to somebody on Sunday night, not Thursday, and wait for a
Mhm.
meeting.
Mhm.
So this is available 24 hours online. Somebody somewhere is gonna be online once this thing gets rolling.
And you have a book.
I do have a book.
Yes.
I'm
Wanna
not into
tell.
book sales. I could care less about the book. I wrote the book to heal that 6-year-old child that was sexually molested in a construction trailer.
Mhm.
And the book is out there, don't get me wrong. I'm proud of it. but it's called God's Imperfect Plan is Perfect.
Mhm.
And it discusses all that. In the church setting, we teach these kids that your life's going to be perfect with God in it.
Mhm.
You're going to get married and you're going to have 3 kids and you're going to have a yellow house. You're going to have a dog named Boomer and you're going to work at the accounting firm. Well, what happens when you get married and you can't have kids for some medical reason? You move into a blue house. Wife won't let you have a dog. You get a cat, but you can't even name that Boomer. And you're working at the gas station, not at the accounting firm.
Yeah.
You're a wreck. And who are you going
Yeah.
to blame?
Mhm.
God. He sucks. So my plan really sucked. I hated it. It
Mhm.
was a horrible plan until I realized his transformation of love that just made me a new person. You see, because I sat in church, I went to church, I got the ticket, I put it in my pocket. I'm going to
Mhm.
heaven. That's not Christianity, folks. Christianity is bringing heaven here now, being transformed into that love, not waiting to get the hell out of here.
Do you believe we're all going to heaven?
That's a rough one.
It's a loaded
That's a,
question.
I know it is. It's a rough one. And I'll say this show's been really enjoyable. Is there something else you want to talk about now?
You're like, "Well, it's been nice, Tracy.
You know
Don't
what?
call me, I'll call you."
I'm not afraid. Seriously.
Yeah.
I believe in universalism without being a universalist. I believe that Jesus died for everybody.
Mhm.
And here's what I believe. If I had no choice in what Adam and Eve did to me to make my life miserable, then I have no choice in what Jesus Christ did upon the cross to free me.
Mhm.
So if you still believe in separation from God and you still believe that you're a piece of crap and he's just waiting to bash you, you're saying that Adam has more power than the second Adam, which is Jesus. And I
Mhm.
believe that the second Adam has way more power than the first Adam.
Mhm.
And his redeeming blood redeems people.
Mhm.
And if you don't choose to walk in that love, you're separated through your mind and you're going to live a life of hell. And I believe
Yeah,
that's
there's
what
a
hell
lot of
is.
evil. There's a lot of evil in
Yeah.
the world. That's why I was,
Yeah.
kinda wondering your take on that.
I
'Cause it's confusing.
it is confusing, but the end of the Bible says the gates are always open.
Yeah.
I believe the hell is if you want to live outside of that love, you're more than welcome to because God doesn't make you a puppet and he won't
Mhm.
make you a puppet. And you can live outside those gates, hating God, doing evil, not being in that love, but those gates are always open for you to come into that transforming love.
Mhm. What would you say? Do you have a favorite, section of the Bible or verse that just really that's like become your mantra that really helps you get through your days and things like
Yes,
that?
I can rattle off a ton, but my favorite is in John, and I'll paraphrase it, of course.
Mhm.
In that day, you'll know that this is Jesus talking, that I'm
Mhm.
in the Father's in me, and we're in you. And we're living this life together in a wonderful dance every single
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
That blows me away because
Yeah.
I would have never preached that from the pulpit back in my day. I would preach that you're separated from God, you're a sinner, you hate your guts. Jesus is going to
Mhm.
sneak you into the back door because you smell like poo, and the Holy Spirit is floating around for you to have as a butler.
Mhm.
Christianity, the devil doesn't care if you go to church. The devil doesn't care that you serve in ministry. The devil doesn't care you raise your hands during songs. He doesn't care about any of that. See,
Right.
we think Christianity is going to church every day. We have a
Yeah.
ticket in our pocket. Christianity is being transformed into who you were created to be. That's Christianity. It's all over the Bible. You just got to read it. And the devil wants nothing more. If he can have you go to church every day, that's great. Or every week and spend all your time in the church, and that's great. And tell everybody you're Christian and have bumper stickers and what would Jesus do and play Christian music all day long, that's great. But if he can keep you from shining, being a light, and he can keep you from love, he wins. Everybody thinks it's all evil. The devil's just evil, pitchfork, and bad. That's a small aisle in the back of the warehouse store.
Mhm.
That front aisle is you suck.
Yeah.
You're horrible. You're alone, and
Mhm.
you're not worth anything.
Right.
So when you go to church and you don't really believe the love of Jesus because you're believing that voice that we were talking about, that's why you see people go to Cracker Barrel after church and belittle a waitress because their lunch is wrong or late. Who's going to want to go to church?
Yeah.
Christians are the number one reason why non-Christians don't go to church. I'm sorry.
It's true. Some of the most effed up people I know, are in church and preaching to
Yeah.
everybody, and I'm like, "You guys need to look in the mirror."
If I can just say something to your audience, religion is different than Christianity. Totally different.
Yeah.
And I'd love
Well,
to talk more to you about that because if you're in that much pain, religion is going to keep you in that pain.
yeah,
Christianity won't.
that's real. Wow. That is really powerful. Religion will keep you in that pain. Christianity will not.
Amen. There's those goosebumps. That's the
Amen.
spirit with
Holy
the
crap, yeah. I
that's where the spirit is
Why you
swiping
always
some.
give me goosebumps when
It's
I'm
not me. It is a wonderful father who loves everybody, and if you
Mhm.
got goosebumps in that, he's talking to you.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, I do wanna say you are perfectly imperfect. Like,
Yes,
you're exactly doing what you're supposed to be doing. I think that you're gonna help so many people. I think there are so many people that are gonna be listening to this that are like, "I need to talk to somebody just to figure out what's going on," and this is a great first step for them, and it doesn't have to be related to addict, just if you're struggling at all, if you feel
yeah.
stuck, if you feel like something's off, it's time to reach out. Like, you can't do it alone.
You can't.
You have to have somebody that helps you through it, and I'm a really, really big opponent of that, and, especially in the very beginning stages, you have to set boundaries,
Yes,
because 'cause you've gotta put yourself first, you have to be selfish, and that's hard to do when you've got families and kids and things like that. How do you do it all? But you can do it.
you can
You've
do it.
already been through the worst of what you're gonna go through.
Yeah, start taking a step up the stairs.
Yeah,
You can get
yeah.
out of the basement, and it's real easy. PartnersofAddicts. If
Mhm.
you go to there, you can learn about the community. If you want, you can get a hold of me, and I can send you a free guide I wrote, The 10 Truth Unspoken That I Wish Somebody Would Have Shared with Me. And it's a guide that gives you 10 things that will slap you across the face and give you those goosebumps. Like, number one, you're destroying your kids. Number two, you're not alone. Number three, you were meant to make boundaries. I mean, there's just so many truths
Yeah.
that you need to know in order to get the healing. So, partnersofaddicts.com. You can find everything about me at walkrightministries.com. I do
Yeah.
speaking, I do coaching, I do all kinds of stuff. I don't facilitate out of a pulpit anymore. I do more
Mhm.
public speaking than that, but
Yeah.
I do shepherd. I am a pastor. I do love shepherding people. And
Mm,
my passion is to see you set free and
yeah.
then watch your kids get set free because they're watching you. You think they're
Yeah.
watching the addict? They're not. They're watching the sober one. And are you going to save me? And are you going to save us and get us out of this mess?
Mhm.
And however that
Mhm.
looks like, together as a family, not together as a family, however that
Right.
looks like. But you won't figure that out until you gain clarity.
Yeah. Well, Steve, this has been incredible having you on. But I just want to say, anybody, you guys, if you're listening to this and any of this resonates with you, please comment. And we want to know, like, if this show is helping, if you're struggling at all, we will make sure you have the information to get in touch with Steve so he can help you. If you're listening to this is your sign that this is the first step you need to make.
Yeah.
And amen. Yeah. We're just gonna leave it at
Quietly
that.
on your
Amen.
phone in a corner, you can
Yeah,
go snoop around the community online for free
yeah.
and just by yourself and just
Mhm.
see what it's all about. But God will get a hold of you.
Give
He'll want,
yourself 15 minutes to do a little research, like, in privacy, like he said,
yeah.
just go do some research and you'll get answers, and
Yeah.
it also but you really do need to connect, I think, with Steve to talk to him just give yourself that confidence that you need that you can do it. If you can do it, you look what you went through, and I mean, and you ended up losing your wife, and you could have ended
Yeah.
up and have going down a completely different path after that happened, and I know your boys are struggling with that loss, and but you didn't. You went the opposite route, and so I think so many people are gonna appreciate that when they're talking to you because it's authentic.
Yeah. It is.
You're coming from a place that you actually really do truly understand. So, thank you for sharing your journey, being vulnerable, and being a part of this about this trauma rockstar family. It's official now. There's no turning back. You're part of the fam.
Rock on. That's why I brought the 80s hairband in.
I know. I was like, okay, that this guy's awesome.
I don't have the hair, but I do love the music.
A lot of them on Hair Nation don't anymore either.
I know. But it was a great era, great music. And
Oh
I'm
my
so
gosh, the best.
honored to be your friend now. And I'm so honored that I'm on your show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and have a great, great rest of your day.
You too, Tracy. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
The content on this podcast revolves around personal life experiences and is meant to serve as a learning tool. I am not a certified therapist or medical expert. This podcast doesn't offer medical, psychological, or professional advice. If you're curious about your mental or physical well being, feel free to reach out to a licensed healthcare professional for assistance.